It's race day here at Spielberg, and the drivers are making their final preparations down on the grid before lights out. Look around, it's a spectacular setting, and I'm sure today's race will do it justice. Spielberg is a very short lap, one of the shortest we'll see in this Formula 2 championship. 7 rights and 3 lefts make up the 10 corners of the circuit. The left-hand kink of turn 2, leading into the uphill braking of turn 3, represents another overtake hotspot. As usual, I'm joined by our good friend Davide Valsecchi as we soak up the dramatic scenery. Do you think the drama will continue onto the track today, Davide?
Ciao Alex, I think we can guarantee that. Austria has always been a track that encourages the driver to overtake and attack. But it's a low grip surface. The drivers out there today will have to make sure that the tiny mistakes don't end up hurting them later in the race.
Let's look at the grid order for today's race while the cars make their final preparations. Robert Schwartzman lines up on pole position, and it's Marino Sato in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fiscal, Piastri, Marcus Armstrong, and Vips, Pourchaire, Tictum, Joe, Christian Lundgaard, Deruvala, Dragovic, Liam Lawson, and Zendelli, Samaya, Aitken, Nissani, and David Beckman. Charus, Boschon, Deleda, and Richard Verschoor completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today we are back here with more F2 action, and for the second time in this series we're on pole for a lovely feature race. Of course, that was back at Bahrain. We were also on pole, and it should be a very nice race for us here. 20 laps, all nice and sunny. No rain in this, well, in the forecast for today's race, and neither quali or any other sessions, any races, any quali so far this season. It's been really nice, dry and sunny for us, which has certainly been helping us out a bit in terms of this race. A mandatory pit stop, unlike the sprint race when you want to pit, is certainly an interesting strategy. That's a very used set of softs. So don't use that. We are going to be using the only left fresh set of softs. In fact, that might even be used. I'm not entirely sure there, but we're going to be using that set of softs for apparently 7 laps and then 13 laps on the hards. I mean, the maximum tyre wear, 79%. We could end up with a lot of tyre wear. 62 to then 70% tyre wear. The maximum remaining the same, but we might have to come in lap 6 potentially, because that's a lot of drop off there. These softs are going to go. It is quite an abrasive track quite often, so I mean, it's a little bit abrasive in terms of that. It's difficult at times in the F2 cars to manage it. Of course, you've got hard braking zones. It's quite easy for the car to lock up into them. Take a lot of tyre wear. So we'll have to monitor that throughout the race. But before we get into some racing action, let's have a look at the grid before we begin. Well, if you haven't watched the last video, that was a fantastic sprint race to watch. I won't tell you the result because it was a fantastic one. You should really watch that. If you're interested in Quali 2, that was, of course, before that. And we were on pole position by the end of that with some fantastic laps at the end of the session to put ourselves ahead of the 2 Tridents and the Prima car of my teammate Oscar Piastri. So we line up on pole with Sato alongside. He's still yet to score this season. He'll be looking for a good result here in Austria. Brent Viscal, our championship rival, that fantastic, I'll say it's fantastic, it was a really good sprint race, I won't tell you any more, has got us further away in the championship from him, and we're looking good. We're looking good in terms of that. But of course, Brent Viscal has a good race today. We have a bad one potentially. That could start the tables to turn a bit. It might be a bit more difficult in Mexico and Silverstone. We'll have to wait and see. Then Oscar Piastri, P4 for Prima, our teammate. It is Prima versus Trident at the front. Hopefully he can help us out a bit today. But Sato we're looking to take points. Piastri wants to really get his championship fight off the floor because it hasn't been going very quickly so far. So they want that today, and then Viscal will be fighting us for the championship in terms of points, stopping us from getting further away. Then Marcus Armstrong, P5 for Dams, with Vips P6 for High Tech GP. In terms of those two guys, they've had okay seasons so far. I mean, they'll be just looking to get some good results on the board. I mean, Poucher definitely will be looking to get some good results on the board. He was, I do believe, 4th last race. Really great work it was from him. He'll be looking probably in today's race to try and just stay in the points, get something decent, because he's been consistent, and that's why he's right at the top there, fighting for some really, really good results come the end of the season. And then Dan Ticktum, still yet to score. Heartbreak at the end of the sprint race, still yet to score. Starts P8, and he's got a lot of work to do here if he wants to try and stay there. Faster cars coming up from behind. Hopefully for his sake he'll be able to get his first points this season. Then Juan Yuzhou, fantastic last time out at the sprint race. Really fantastic there. Got his first points this season, and now he'll be looking to fight up the order and take some more. So will Christian Lundgaard too. Those two have been near the bottom at the previous 2 tracks we've been to, Bahrain and Imola. They'll be looking to continue a good run of form. Daruvla still yet to score. He'll be looking to get something out of today's race. Along with Drugovic, those two haven't been sky high this season. They'll be hoping they can fight up with some unluckiness for other drivers. And Lawson and Zendelli a little bit further down the field than you'd expect. Those two have had a decent season so far. They'll be looking to recover today. Samaya up there in P15 with Aitken solid P16 ahead of Roy Nissany. Nissany and Aitken have been around there consistently. Beckman quite far down the field. You know, he can be competitive about P11, P12, but today a disappointing P18 to start after quali. Then Enzo Fittipaldi, P19, really disappointing. As we've said that before, we've pointed it out. Very disappointing for the Brazilian, because we take a look at his first few races of the season, and he's right up there in the top 5, and now P19 for both races, because only the top 10 are reversed. It's going to really drop him down in the championship. Then Ralph Boström, P20, the Swiss driver for Campos Racing, headed Deleda, another driver. I think he came into this one P2 or P3 in the championship, looking fantastic. And then, boom, he gets a terrible quali, P21, and it's almost taken him out the championship equation, similar to Fittipaldi there. He's got a lot of work to do. So does Richard Verschoor, who is used to starting a bit higher up. So a very tasty grid to begin this one. But the big thing is going to be at the top, 2 Primas versus 2 Tridents. I can't wait. Before we get into the action, if you guys are enjoying these videos, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But let's the grid order and time for some racing. Here we go then. For the second of 2 races in Austria in these lovely F2 cars, the feature race. It's time for 20 laps around Austria. Hopefully there'll be plenty of overtaking compared to the sprint race. 5 red lights. They're out and away we go here on these soft compound tyres. You've got to be aggressive off the start, and my teammate certainly is. He is up ahead of Sato as we're forced to leave him some space into turn 1. We were very cautious, and he's up to P2. Then it's Sato, Viscal and Armstrong. A fantastic start for the team there. Sort of managed to hold up the Tridents for him. Nearly so much that he nearly dived down the inside of us, which wouldn't have exactly been the plan, as behind Viscal versus Armstrong yellow flags. The amount of cars going into turn 3. Of course, no collisions there. We've managed to all survive the first sector and into the second here, but that is Viscal behind Armstrong. Now that could be pivotal in this one. The man we're fighting, our championship rival at the moment, if we can sort of call him one because we've got such a lead, is all the way back down in P5, stuck behind Armstrong. He might start to drop away. We've got a good start here. Already had a DRS of Piastri, of course. We got away well, and then we just drove nicely. We didn't have to try and defend or attack on anyone, so didn't lose time doing that, of course. And now, as we're going to come across the line to finish the first of 20 laps, we go quickest, 1 minute 21. That will get thrashed in this one, of course, because we are not going from a standing start this lap, but you can see the amount of tyre wear here in Austria, 7%. It is tearing the tyres up as it stands. We're getting comfortably ahead of my teammate here. And Sato, meanwhile Armstrong is starting to hold up Viscal a little bit. We could see that progression. Some of the drivers, I think Beckman might be starting to fall off the back a bit here in Austria. But we are going along pretty smoothly, as that is called rallying. And we're not wanting to do rallying. That's going to put more wear on the fronts, and you can see how difficult actually these F2 cars can be to drive, because we don't manage to clip the curb there. We don't manage to get that pace through there, and that's not going to be quickest in the middle sector. Piastri will catch it up a bit this lap, but still want to stay out of DRS zone because that will be available next lap. But a very decent start here in Austria as we successfully go wide again. Struggling a little bit with the car at the moment. Tyre wear very high, we'll have to monitor that. So it could be a bit of a difficult Grand Prix to stay here, but another fastest lap. Your race replay then. We were starting on pole and we got away actually pretty nicely. Sato, not too shabby actually. Yeah, and yeah, we go, lights on, away we go. We got away very well. So did my teammate. Viscal certainly didn't. Then my teammate, we brake quite hard into the first corner to allow my teammate to go side by side. Just behind, you can see the battle between him and Sato. Behind, you've got Viscal. That's my teammate comfortably ahead of Sato. Then it's Viscal. Then you've got Marcus Armstrong, who is charging further back. Look at that from Armstrong. He's going to try and go around the outside line here. Oh, and he's got a lot of pace out the corner there. Really nice round the outside line. And that is the move done as further back. It's Wan Yu Zhou fighting with Lundgaard. He's ahead of Lundgaard now. And Pouchet. Look at that, though. Ben Viscal is behind Armstrong. That's pivotal for the championship. And what a start to this race here. No real surprises with drivers jumping up or down the order. Not too shabby of a start for Dang Tickdom. Wan Yu Zhou up to P8. Lundgaard not got too badly away, but disappointing for Pouchet, and Deruvela still outside the points. But a great start here in Austria for ourselves. Well, this is a little replay of what happened further back on lap 3, and it was Roy Nissany starting to drop away, and Alessio Deleda standing on his back. Deleda with a decent start. Now charging up round the outside line into turn 3. And once again, we're seeing you can get a really nice exit off there around the outside. Deleda's now going to come at him. He's got the DRS on Roy Nissany here. And you can see that's Deleda through. And then just behind, Samaya is going to try and go around the outside line, and Nissany too. And Nissany could lose 2 places here. And now, nope, just stays ahead there. Does Roy Nissany. Samaya slots in P19. His teammate, Enzo Fittipaldi, P20, but Nissany certainly not looking that fantastic here. Alessio Deleda in front is gliding off into the distance towards Beckman. And now Samaya might have a bit of defending to do here. He's might have a bit of overtaking to do here as he sends it down the inside line of Roy Nissany. What a move there. Nissany doesn't remain exposed for Fittipaldi to come through, but some fantastic overtaking action. But what a shame for Roy Nissany here. Really struggling as now further back you can see Enzo Fittipaldi, and another gulf of cars are going to try and come past him. Fittipaldi down the inside line into the first corner. It's side by side. He's got DRS once again, and now there's even more cars with DRS behind Roy Nissany. Ralph Bostrom's going to try and go around the outside line. Verschoor is stuck behind him. That's Fittipaldi way off into the distance, and in front you can see that Roy Nissany versus Ralph Bostrom. Bostrom goes around the outside line. This is turning into a disaster for Roy Nissany, who's losing place after place. He'll stay ahead of Bostrom, but what a disastrous start to the Grand Prix from Roy. Well, we're on lap number 4 here, and as you can see, the field is starting to break apart a little bit. At the back, some fighting, and they're dropping away from the main pack, aren't they? As you can see, we are struggling with the tyres here, locking up a bit. We might have the fastest lap, but certainly steaming into corners like that won't help. You can see we are gaining on our teammate, but it's a weird one because we've had the fastest lap in every race so far in this series, but we haven't been consistent enough. We've just gone and put in a really nice lap, and weirdly the AI have been so consistent that virtually all the laps are just carbon copies of each other. And that is a bit weird in these F2 cars. You don't see it in the F1 cars as much. But we are struggling a little bit this lap here. Somehow, a lot quicker, despite steaming in and locking up in the middle sector. Thankfully, didn't end up taking a detour for a bit of rallying. But as you can see, tyre wear is certainly becoming a problem at the moment. 31% on the front left after 4 laps. Coming on to the 5th, that will be enough to set us another fastest lap. Surprisingly. We could see some of the fastest laps potentially flowing in from drivers on the hards. The field definitely starting to break away. We're breaking away from Piastri. The reason being that, A, we might have 2/10 lap quicker maybe, but then he's defending from Sato, and we've got that DRS train effect again. We will manage to be able to break that in the sprint race. The technique is to focus on exits. It's not about entries, it's about exits. You've got to focus on that. And I feel like that's one of the mistakes AA make. They just drive for the most possible like quickest lap. You've got to think, right, you've got DRS coming up, slow in, get that acceleration out, and then you get a massive advantage over them down the straight. And you can see that this lap was starting to settle into a bit of a groove here, which is certainly helpful. And the field is very much splitting apart, specifically at the back, due to fighting. And Piastri's defending is going to not help him either. We're on lap number 5 here, looking pretty comfortable until the pit stops. I have to say, tyre wear is quite high at the moment, so we certainly will be needing to pit quite early on in this GP for a fresh set of hards. Of course, much more durable compound. Going to come across the line to go quicker. Green, green, purple. By a chunk there. We've got a lead over my teammate Piastri, who are looking fantastic in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if someone had gone 2 purple sectors at the start and the middle, because we went green. But we're going nicely here on lap 6. Well, as I'm sure you can see, still barely any action for ourselves out front. A 4-second lead. It's pretty much stabilising. Piastri defending from Sato, Armstrong, Viscal. So, oh, we've lost Piastri. Oscar's gone. Is that a mechanical? Oh, I think it might be a mechanical. Looks like he's pulled off the road. Can't be a spin, surely, because he's not getting back going. No, he is. It was a spin. Oh, no. He was in P2 and he's thrown it away. This presents a new difficulty for us because we haven't got my teammate catching us now. We've got to defend from Sato and Armstrong and Viscal. I think I was supposed to be boxing this lap, but scrap that. We're looking all right at the moment. I think we'll keep going, and there you go, Sato into the pits. My teammate's had a bit of a mistake, really has. What a shame for him. What's he done? He's just spun it. He's just spun it. A real shame. Plenty of the cars pulling into the pits, half of them. And I think we might come in later this lap. Well, here's a replay of what happened to Piastri. You can see that's ourselves. Then that's him. And he's coming up to turn 3. And oh, he's lost it on the curb on the inside and he's round. Thankfully doesn't collect anyone. He's just lost it on the curb, hasn't he? Gone over the curb, spun him out. Ourselves still P1 for Prima. At the time I thought it was a mechanical, but what a shame. Lap 7 replay, and that's Piastri. Has to rejoin P22. Don't know why he's waiting there. I'd just gone back on the track, but rejoins P22. What a disaster for Oscar Piastri here. A real shame today. He was P2. He was set for a fantastic potential podium. Loads of points for Prima. Maybe a 1-2. And then he's round. And that costs him to the back of the field. He goes. Well, time for some pit stops then. It will be a fresh set of hards here as we go very wide out there. Heading into the pits. Here we go. A fresh set of hards. As you can see, 60% on the fronts. 50, 44 on the rears. You can see a lot of tyre wear at the moment. Fresh set of hards are going to be going on. We're going to have to wait all of these cars to come through. Well, that's cost us a little bit of time here. Our lead will be slightly reduced to the likes of my team. Well, not my teammate, will In fact, we might be a bit under threat from the likes of Sato here, because Mariano Sato is coming out of turn 1, and we're going to be alright. He sticks ahead of Armstrong, but you can see that cost us a bit in the pits. They're having to wait. We've lost a bit of time. Nice to have some fresh hards on, I have to say here, as we then go and send them steaming in to lock up into the first hard braking zone we get the opportunity to. And that has cost us a bit of time. We were fine on the softs. The softs felt absolutely lovely. Don't know how we'll cope with these at the moment. That will certainly be an interesting one to see, as my teammate sat at the back now will be able to get an overtake on whichever car that is. I think it's a Dams. Bit of a shame though for my teammates in this one, as we're struggling to acclimatise to the new tyre compound here, compared to Sato, who's got quite a lead now on Armstrong, Viscal and then Vips, and you can see the gap to Sato starting to trickle down a bit. We need to get into a nice sort of groove with these hards, which we're not getting into. We found that in the sprint race, definitely, but we're struggling a bit now as my teammates are right onto the back of that Downs car. We crossed the line, and now our first actual proper full lap on these hard tyre compounds. Not too much tyre wear on these, of course, a lot of tyre wear on the softs. That will definitely not be the same for these tyres, of course, the harder compound. They will be slower though, so we won't see any more fastest laps. So that should be pretty much secured here, as my teammate has got the move done on the Dams, gaining on Sato a bit and then dropping a bit. We've got to be consistent, because he's got a very nice lead over Armstrong here. By pitting earlier, it really has helped him. By ourselves being at the front, it did actually cost us a little bit of time to him. So I don't think we'll have to worry too much about him at the moment, but were we to just not find the pace, which we're certainly not doing at the moment, there could be a race on us. You can see here, I'm not liking these hards, and Sato could be coming to us, and I certainly wouldn't say no to a bit of a fight, but I saw that at the Mexican GP, and I much prefer it when we're going to someone in front instead of falling behind. But Sato's got a good, comfortable lead on Armstrong here. Armstrong, I think, is out of DRS, so we'll have to defend from Viscal and Vit. Should drop away, and then Sato can focus on chasing us down here. So on our first lap on the hard, 6:10 slower. We've just got to be consistent here, and it's pretty much ours.
To second the lap on the car behind.
Roughly, I'm surprised about that, but we've just got to be consistent here, not try to cut too much grass, and hopefully we should be able to nicely bring it home. Well then, a quick review of the order after the pit stops. We lead from Sato, who sits P2 currently. Really good work from him there. He's got off the train with Armstrong leading at the moment. He's in front of Viscal, Vips, Tictum, and then you've got Diopouchet, I forgot to say Juan Yuzhou in between Vips and Tictum, Lundgaard, and then Drugovic sits in last points position today. He's had no points yet this season, so if you can say that, that'd be fantastic for him to get a P10, but he's got the charge of the Red Bull livery driven by Jehan Daruvla. He's looking for his first points this season. It's a battle of first points here between those two, but you can see Pouchet back in front of his teammate Lundgaard. Tictum, P7, looking solid for some first points this season. And Juan Yuzhou going strong again behind Yuri Vips. If we head further down the order though, Larim Zendelli also in this train, starting to drop maybe a little bit further away, but then you've got Jack Aitken, P13, climbing up the order a bit. Liam Lawson, a bit disappointing there in the Red Bull livery, with David Beckman, P15. That rounds out that train. Beckman's recovered well from the bottom of the field. He's not doing too badly. Then you have to go a bit further back to find Samaya. These are the guys who are held up by a very, very slow Nissan at the start of this one. So it's Samaya P16, Deleda P17, recovering a little bit up the order with Fittipaldi next, Boschung, Vershaw, and then my teammate Oscar Piastri, who's successfully overtaken Roy Nissen, who's dropping back like a stone here. Well, a little bit of a recap here, not too much to document on for ourselves or really anyone else. We've got that train like we saw in the sprint race, and it's just continuing. Plenty of guys off the back of that train now. But, I mean, we're going alright here. we're improving in the final sector, definitely getting some pace in that sector of the track. The other two, not that fantastic, as you can see there. We're playing a little bit risky, being a bit more aggressive. We don't really need to do that. I'm just happy to sit here, put laps in, and get it to the end of the race. You know, we don't need to do anything fantastic. Don't need to do anything stupid. There's no need for us to push here because we can't go quicker on these hards than we went on the soft. So we're just sat here, making sure the gap to Sato doesn't increase. He is getting away from Armstrong. Viscal stuck behind him, which is very nice and tasty for ourselves here. Of course, my teammate Piastri had the disaster earlier on, and you can see that little mistake. The mistake's creeping in a little bit. You saw one at the start of the lap, and that is a yellow flag for what I do believe will be a mechanical failure there, because it doesn't look like an... No, it won't be. I thought it was someone going slowly, but an ART off the track, I do believe. Don't know which one that is. That's either Pouchet or Lundgaard. I think that is Pouchet, and he must have spun. And another spin in this one, as we've had a shocker of a lap. Another spin here. My days. I mean, we have nearly spun ourselves, but this is turning into a spin fest. What a shame there. And the big train that we had before us, where I don't know what I'm doing here, cutting the grass. The big train that we had before is really splitting into pieces. As you can see, we're not exactly great form here. We'll have to see what happened though with that spin. Another one, and that is certainly not what you want to do. Well, here's what happened to Christian Lundgaard running behind his teammate in P9, and you can see he's just heading into the corner, taking a bit of the curb. As he's lost it on the exit. He's been way too aggressive on the throttle. That's quite rare. He's lost it on the exit, and it is Spinilla here today at Austria. What a shame for Lundgaard. He's got to wait for everyone else to come through, and I think Lorenzo Andelli's had a bad lap. Down to P14, but that puts Lundgaard, as he rejoins, P20, ahead of my teammate Piastri. But what a shame for Christian Lundgaard there. It was looking good for points. It won't be for him today, but that promotes Daruvala and Drugovic both in the points. They'll be looking for their first points this season. Real shame, though, for Christian Lundgaard after a fantastic-ish Austrian GP sprint race last time in this F2 season. Well, lap number 15 here, and it has been pretty plain sailing for us so far, I have to say. We haven't really had any problems at the moment. You know, on the hards, the fronts were really locking up quite a bit, putting a lot into them. With 5 laps to go in this one, we actually go quickest there.
Great work. That's a new fastest lap of the race.
That's surprising. I mean, my sector 3 was alright, but that's a bit weird. We've gone 1 minute 17, 1 on the hards. Okay, no clue. I have actually started to push a bit. We're starting to get a bit further away from Sato. Might as well have a bit of a push now. Hopefully, this will be a decently fast lap on these hard tyre compounds. Of course, the field, as I was saying, spreading out even more. Is that on the minimap a potential overtake between Armstrong and Viscal? And that is, but they switch back, and it remains Armstrong ahead of Viscal, but Viscal's going to get back ahead with a more DRS, and that is Viscal up to P3. Trident looking a bit stronger now. He'll be able to now, hopefully for him, chase after his teammate Sato. But of course, very late in this one, won't be able to catch up to us. Again, Viscal caught in traffic. He's overcome it this time, but still not to be for him here now. Sector 3. Can we pump something decent in? That's the question. Now, if we attack the exit, will this be any quicker? Felt it. It isn't. Very, very close though. So we're going pretty nice here. Lap 17 out of 20. Really nice overtake clearly from Viscal to get ahead of Armstrong. Got close up to turn 2. Couldn't get the move done. Then gets the move done. And now he should be able to try and catch up to his teammate Sato. Needs to reduce the points lost to us. And I know it might seem a little bit like, oh, right, okay. Well, you're plain sailing here, you know. You were third and then first at Bahrain. Yeah, not as great at Imola, but you still got a podium. And then you're getting podiums here. You might be saying that, but I wouldn't say there's not going to be a title fight, because, I mean, we've got Mexico next. I am great at Mexico and F1 cars. I have absolutely no practice in F2 cars. Same for Silverstone. I'm decent at that in F1 cars. we're not going to be flying around those two tracks, I don't think, specifically in these cars. So certainly, I wouldn't rule out Viscar being able to get good results and catch back up to us, you know. So there's still a title fight in it. And anyway, it's still exciting racing, but we're going nice here. Lap 17. Just got to bring it home. A bit of a break. I do believe actually it was Lundgaard who spun. Yeah, Lundgaard who spun. Sorry about that. No, it is, of course, Poucher, who is at the end of that train, led by Viscar now. Well, we've got to see a replay of this. Bent Viscar versus Marcus Armstrong. This is a meaty battle to watch. Viscar sends it down the inside line of Armstrong. Gets the move done and then just seems to back off a bit on the exit. And it's going to be side by side. He's got the DRS. It's going to be comfortably ahead of Marcus Armstrong. You can see Viscar speeding through. Move done from Bent Viscar despite a little lock up there, but keeps it on the track. Keeps the rubber on the asphalt, and that's P3 for Viscar in this one. Really solid work on lap 16. That is on the podium, like his teammate. He'll be looking to chase after him now. Well, I can't quite believe this here. Sato with a mechanical failure, I do believe. He's going slowly, so it will be a mechanical, and that's him out of the session. What a calamity for Sato. P2 he was. I mean, we've been dominant in this one, but it's been a fantastic performance from Sato. 2 laps away from the finish and a podium, and his first points of the season, and a second mechanical failure in a row is going to rule him out. What a shame for Sato. I can't quite believe that. It's a shame you can't have personal instance, your own mechanical failures in career mode. Not career mode, sorry, Grand Prix mode. That would certainly be interesting. This lap, we've actually found something very, very fast at the moment, which I'm pretty surprised about. The middle sector is blistering. We are absolutely setting the times purple here. I'm not even kidding. This is a very, very beautiful lap, and this is going to be... Oh!
Good job.
My days.
So far.
1 minute 16, 3:59 on the penultimate lap. We've just gone. We have gone. At this point, I mean, I wasn't expecting to have anywhere near this amount of pace. A huge shame for Sato. No points yet this season. He was running all right at the last race, as we locked up there and then got the car rotated around. He's running all right at the last race. Mechanical P2, potential podium, points today, looking comfortable. Mechanical. I mean, come on, what are the chances of that? I'm sorry, but that is so unlucky. We are going to win the Austrian GP here in these F2 cars pretty comfortably by 14 seconds here. Once we've started to just flick that switch, and I've found that much more pace in these F2 cars. I'm learning second by second, and we're actually going quicker in the middle sector here. Let's be aggressive in the final sector. Let's go for maybe another fastest lap, because, I mean, we've got the pace here. Let's throw it at it through the final few corners here. Probably take a bit too much off it on the width-wise. A little bit aggressive there, warning for exceeding track limits, but we might go quicker. It's going to win here in F2.
Well, what a drive that was to take the win for Prema today. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Although the Formula 2 cars are all the same spec, the winner just looked better out there. It would have been a combination of getting those tires up to running temperature faster and driving to the condition on track. They made it look easy out there today.
It looks like it's time for the victory ceremony once again, as I can see the drivers beginning to make their way out for the celebrations. You can see it on their faces. It's another marvellous team win for Prema today.
Your race results then, as always, and I think we might need to crank the difficulty up a teeny little bit for Mexico, because our best lap, a 1 minute 15.953, which I never thought I'd get in an F2 car. especially after quali. That might be quicker than our quali lap, actually, on hard. I don't even know how that happened, but a 1 minute 15.953, a dominant one from P1 to P1, 27 points, and what a fantastic race for us there. Executed it wonderfully to finish 16 seconds ahead of Viscal. Third on the grid to second. Bit of a disappointing start. Dropped behind Armstrong. He could have competed with us. That hadn't have happened, but he was stuck behind him, stopped him from being able to put great laps in, and it cost him once again not being able to overtake until later in the race. 18 points for the Dutch driver at Trident. Still, something solid to cement his P2 in the championship, but could have been a lot better for him. Then Marcus Armstrong, P3 for Dams. The Australian takes 15 points. A really good result today from him. Got the move on Viscal early. Couldn't keep it stick for the whole race, but really did what he needed to do. He led the train fantastically. You know, didn't get overtaken like we've seen with some other drivers. And a very strong performance. Really strong performance there. Followed by Yuri Vips, the Estonian, 12 points for High Tech Grand Prix from 6th on the grid. Good progress and a good result at the flag. One of those guys in that train. And really, like, just solid from Yuri Vips, High Tech Grand Prix. He's had some okay results so far this season. I'd say this is one of his best. But, you know, he's been consistent. And that's what you need to be, I think. And definitely that's going to boost him up a bit more in the championship. I mean, I can't exactly remember where he was in previous races, but a solid result for Vips. And also, Wan Yu Zhou, P9 to P5. Now that is what you call a fantastic drive there. 10 points on the board for the Chinese driver. Got his way up the order. Took points in the sprint race. In fact, he won it. And then goes and takes 5th in the feature. Fantastic driving from the Chineseman. Then, Dan Ticktum for Carlin. P6, first points of the season. And it's a nice, chunky 8. A really good result for him. Didn't have a problem at the end of the race like last time. That's what he needs. A confident boost for him and the team. They get themselves off the ground. And now every team has scored points this season. Poucher, P7. The French driver, 6 points. Once again, he gets fantastic results in sprint races and then some points in the feature races. And although it's not the most effective, it is actually getting him quite far up the order at the moment. He's looking very decent. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he can really compete for definitely top 5, maybe even top 3 at the end of the season. But a solid, consistent drive from Poucher. A bit of a poor start, but clawed it back at the end with others' misfortunes. Then Jehan Daruvla from outside the points, P11 on the grid to P8 at the flag. He takes his first points this season, like his teammate. 4 for him. Once again, one of those guys in the train, but really good, solid result. Along with Felipe Drugovic, who started P12. Brazilian got it to P9 to take 2 points for Univertosi Racing. Again, another driver who hasn't scored points this season. Until now, it's going to be a confidence boost. Hopefully we'll see him fighting a bit more at the final 2 races. Jack Aitken, P10, the Brit, with his first points of the season too. It's a bit of a first day with first points for Ticktum, Daruvla, Drugovic and Jack Aitken for HWA Race Lab. From 16th on the grid, he's gained 6 places to take that 1 point. Finally, something a bit less than meh in terms of a performance. Liam Lawson just missed out on points. Really close there in that Red Bull livery. Solid race from him. Not too bad. Neither for Beckman at all. P18 to P12. Fantastic recovery there. No points, but still a good recovery from a poor quali. Also managed to latch onto the back of that train. So really solid work from the German. Then, off the back of that train, Samaya with one of his best results of the season for Shari Racing System from P15 on the grid. Followed by, 3 seconds later, Alessio Delayed of HWA Race Lab. He's had some much better results. Of course, he won the sprint race at Imola, but certainly was never going to be a fantastic one for him. It never was going to be a fantastic race for Delayed, of course, starting P21, second to last. But up to P14 is an astounding overtaking drive there. Really solid work from the Italian. No points, but certainly a result to be proud of. Then Enzo Fittipaldi did recover from P19, not showing the sort of form, though, we've seen from him earlier in the season, but an okay result. The two Brazilians at Sherry Racing System making progress. So did Ralph Boström for the first time this season. P16, really good result considering his past ones from P20 on the grid. Everyone, of course, going for that one stop at no points, but at least a decent result. Richard Vershaw from P22 to P17, another good climbing of the order there for Vershaw. Very disappointing quality though, just ruled him out of a good result in the race. Lundgaard didn't have too bad of a quali. P10 on the grid, over P18 at the flag due to a spin, cost him many points, and finishes P18. With the Rimzendelli, who dropped down the order like a stone at the end of the race, wonder if he had a problem. He finished 38 seconds off the lead, nearly got overtaken by my teammate Piastri. Disappointing for MP Motorsport. With my teammate Piastri P20, should have been P2 after a fantastic start, getting him up onto the podium ahead of the two Trident cars. But what a shame for Oscar the Australian. I'm sorry, I think I did say Liam Lawson was Australian. He's New Zealand. Oh, that's someone else. Anyway, got that bit wrong there. But Oscar Piastri P20. What a shame. That spin cost him. You've got to be consistent in F2. We actually know he spun out multiple times in him, and we were very lucky there. But Oscar P20 could have been competitive, but not to be. Roy Nissany had an absolute shambolic race there for Dams. Last of the finishers, 46 seconds off the lead. Really not his day. Neither Marino Sato, sorry. What a shame for him. What a shame. I mean, he was in a solid position in the sprint race. It was a shame for him to have that mechanical, but he thought, right, okay, he's got that feature race from P2. He was going to take P2 until 2 laps from the end. Wasn't his fault at all. A mechanical failure cost him podium and points. Now that we've had a look at the race results, time for the standings then. We lead by 45 points with 110. We're looking very comfortable. Let's not forget, that can all change around in the final 2 races. Fiscal sits P2 for Trident on 65 points, with Poucher P3 on 42 points. He moves up the order ahead of Deleda. Said he could get some good results this season, and he's suddenly looking like that with a solid one today. Deleda not scoring this weekend drops him down to P4. He has 34 points and is 2 ahead of a rising Yuri Vips. Fittipaldi with a disappointing weekend drops down with 30, and Piastri after his spin today is on the exact same amount of points. Vershaw after a disappointing quali once again can't score points. He has 3 less than my teammate, 27. Juan Zhou continues to climb up the order, and he's already there in terms of that fight. He could definitely make his way on the podium if he continues with this form. 25 points in one weekend. Really solid result there. Also, for Marcus Armstrong, points make sure that he comes up the order a little bit. It wasn't the best start to the season, but he now has 23 and is P10. That's the top 10 done. Only 2 points behind. The competition continues. That's Liam Lawson for High Tech Grand Prix. 2 points ahead of David Beckman, who had a disappointing result today. Zendelli also drops down the order with another disaster. He has 18 points and sits P13. And then Lundgaard exactly 100 points off the lead with just 10 as it stands in the season. Decent result in the sprint race, but a bit of a disappointment in the feature. Dan Ticktum takes his first points of the season. He has 8. Teammate Deruvula sits just behind with 4. Meanwhile, Felipe Drugovic has 2, and we continue dividing by 2 to get to Jack Aitken, who has a point. Only 4 drivers still yet to score. Mariano Sato, due to mechanical failures, really bad luck there. And then Samaya Nissany and Boström, who haven't had the best of seasons. The team standings, everyone has points now. Prima lead by 75. We've got 140, and we're looking pretty dominant, I have to say. Trident P2 as it stands, cementing that. 65 points for them, but High Tech are coming up the order. They have 53. They're charging 1 point ahead of ART now. Looking pretty tasty here. 53 points to 52. That is a good battle to watch for P3. MP Motorsport have dropped down the order with High Tech absolutely launching themselves up there. They sit P5 with 45 points, exactly 10 behind we have a dismal race weekend-ish for delayed and HWA Race Lab, 35 points there. Charoot Racing System have 30, most of those from Fittipaldi. They sit P7. In fact, I think all of those are from Fittipaldi. Then Univirtuosity Racing promote themselves further up the order. They had none at the start of the race weekend. They now have 27 in P8. Dams moving up to P9. They have 23. Campos Racing, 4 behind, have just 19. And Carlin are off the ground with 12. Well, that is it for today's race. An extremely dominant victory for us. An extremely good lap, actually, there. I wasn't expecting to do 1 minute 15.9. Very tasty at 1 point. Best lap, 1 minute 17.1. I didn't think I could go any quicker. So I don't know how that brought me out of it. Maybe to step the difficulty up 1 or 2 for Mexico. But thanks a lot for watching, guys. We've won here in Spielberg. A dramatic race with spins. We kept our composure to win. Thanks a lot for watching. And I'll catch all you guys sometime soon. Oh, and of course, before you go, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying it. Subscribing, totally free. Helps me out. Won't cause any problems. Just click the button. Don't have to do it again. Really helps me out. But what a race. A shame for our teammate in Sato. Should have been on the podium. Of course, our teammate with the spin, that's his own fault. Sato cost P2 due to a mechanical. What a shame there. But P1 for us ahead of Bent Viscal. Solid as we head in to the final 2 tracks on the calendar in this F2 series. As I said, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you very soon.